Hello everybody and welcome back to the Knee Down podcast, brought to you by AbsoluteMotorsport.com and the LOTV. I'm James Casey and joining me today, as usual, is CK.
Hello.
Now, obviously we've had a little bit of a break and we weren't supposed to be coming back until a few weeks' time, a couple more weeks. But obviously there's been a lot of news recently in MotoGP. So we took a little bit of a break because of exams and everything, but we are due to be back after the Catalonia race. But we've done this special episode because of all the news about 2019, which we're going to jump right into. And it's been a very fast-moving week, hasn't it? And we've seen a lot of very surprising moves.
Yeah, I suppose there's that one big one that caught pretty much everyone off guard. But yeah, it's been pretty good last week or so with announcements coming.
And obviously, as it was the last time round with contracts, 2016 going into the 2017 season, everything's been decided very early on. And of course, the main talking point was Jorge Lorenzo, who, as expected, is leaving Ducati despite his dominant win in Mugello. He will be leaving there, but his destination is what has surprised people. The original thought by almost all journalists was that he was going to Suzuki and that was a done deal. And then after that, that seemed to go off the table, and it looked like he would have to go back to Yamaha on a satellite bike ran by kind of Malaysian sponsors and everything. But in the end, that was not the case, because Dani Pedrosa will be leaving Honda, which we'll get onto later, and Lorenzo will be joining Marc Marquez for the 2019 season. And first of all, do you think it is a good move for Lorenzo?
Yeah. I mean, he's not really got much to lose. Coming from the year and a half he's been on the Ducati, was it like 5 podiums maybe? And that win at the weekend there. But he's not really got much to lose. I've seen arguments for and against his riding style on the Honda. I think it's a good move. I mean, the bike's good. The bike's in more of a winning state than the Ducati. But Marc Marquez, that's what I'm not so sure about.
Yeah, I think that is the main stumbling block when it comes to Honda. There's no doubt that the bike is good, but it is difficult to ride, isn't it? And obviously, if Lorenzo was there as the lead rider, like was expected to happen at Ducati, which didn't work out, but if he was there as the lead rider, he could shape that bike around him, and then I think it would definitely work for him. That experience on the Ducati of trying to work out the bike, I think, would help him. But he's got to go into a team which is centred around Marquez, and the bike is set up for him, which is the opposite, complete opposite for Jorge. But how long do you reckon it will take him to get on top of that bike?
I suppose we'll wait to see. I mean, we'll see when they get to Valencia, the test at the end of the year, see how that goes. But it's far too early to say. Yeah. I'd like to think things will go well, but you never know. I was thinking it'd get on instantly well with the Ducati, and look how that turned out. I think, I don't know. I think he's got the experience of not having a bike that works with him. Like his many years at Yamaha, the bike was instantly to his liking. So I think he'll definitely go into this Honda with a totally different mentality. Whether or not it works, we'll really have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think that's the key point. I would say people are saying, well, he really struggled with the Ducati, so he's going to really struggle with the Honda. I kind of think, yes, he did struggle with the Ducati, so that suggests to me he won't get on with it instantaneously with the Honda. But, as you say, he knows a bike that he doesn't like now, and he knows what the main features are to make that a winning bike. And Yeah, obviously the fuel tank and everything was a problem at Ducati and seat position in the past. Um, he now knows that's what he needs when he goes to Honda. So I think he'll pick it up reasonably quickly, but I don't think he's going to be able to challenge Marquez realistically in either of those 2 seasons. If he stays on longer at Honda, then I would say that he'd be able to do that. And obviously that brings us on to the question of then, will he do that? Is this a bit of a stopgap move for Lorenzo, a kind of necessary evil almost, moving to Honda? Because it does seem like a strange move for both parties.
Yeah, it's a weird one, but I think I think he'd been the right team to grow. It wasn't really that at Ducati, really anyway. There wasn't really um, much wiggle room if he wasn't performing. But I think replacing Danny though as the inverted commas number two, I think, and replacing Danny, who he's only really won like either one or two races in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
I don't think the bar's that high. I don't think they're going into this paying Lorenzo money to win championships because I've already got that with Marquez. So I think the bar will be set a lot lower. And they'll know that, and Repsol they'll know that give him enough time, he can win with it. And I'd say the Honda's a much better starting point, at least, in terms of just raw performance than the Ducati, or over a season at least.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's very few tracks, aren't there, where the Honda is nowhere. Obviously, one of them was this week, just gone in Mugello. But apart from that, the Honda's competitive pretty much everywhere. Whereas that's not the case with the Ducati, isn't it? And you always saw with Lorenzo at Ducati that a good track for Ducati, he was able to do kind of all right, but then at the tracks that they struggled, it was like he was completely lost, and that couldn't have helped with his confidence and everything on the bike. But at least he should have a bike that's pretty equal.
but interesting enough, the tracks that Lorenzo himself did well on, he did a little bit better. He was more on a par with Dovi or beating him like Jerez last year.
Yeah.
It wasn't anywhere near a Ducati track, and he gets his first podium on it. After a couple of races on the bike, it's a weird one. I think that just in general, if he knows what he needs to make better. Well, he knows what things he can feel to make it better, if that makes any sense. So it should take less time.
Yeah.
But I'm still just keep my cards close to my chest with this one.
Yeah, it is a tricky one. I think that it could, as you say, it could go either way, couldn't it? But I think for Honda, as you say, either way, this is a good move for them because let's be honest, they've got rid of Pedrosa because he's not really threatening to do anything. Every year it's the same, as you say, 1 or 2 wins. And with Lorenzo, they know that if he gets it together, then he's going to be fighting Marquez. They're going to be an unbeatable team, pretty much. If he doesn't perform, it's not really that much of a loss because Pedrosa was kind of at a level that was not really doing too much anyway. Consistent points, but nothing major. So I think that either way, I think it's sort of worth the gamble. It's a way of him fighting for a championship, which on a satellite Yamaha I don't think would have been, because he'd always be second fiddle in terms of development.
Yeah, even that, like the factory bikes can't fit for a championship.
Well, yeah, Yamaha are. Well, they're not. I think they are slowly getting back to it, but it's taken an awful long time. Anyway, obviously, that isn't the only thing with Lorenzo. Obviously, he leaves Ducati, so someone has to come into that. And it is Danilo Petrucci, which is kind of expected. It was always going to be between him and Miller, people who knew the bike, obviously, with them both being at Pramac. But Petrucci, he's been at Ducati much longer. He's Italian. It was the obvious call, but do you think it was the right one?
For 2019, yeah. 2020, nah. I'm not sure how long the deal is.
Well, I was going to come on to that. It's only a 1-year deal, so they're keeping their options open.
Yeah, I reckon it was only 1 year just to keep Jack Miller on their side.
Mm.
If it was any more than that, Jack would have just told them where to stuff it. Maybe, but yeah, I think 1 year Petrucci would be more suited to just jumping on the bike and going for it. In a factory team, he's been with Ducati for a while. So then jumping on a GP19, it'll be the best option for that season.
Yep.
But after that, they have to go with Jack
Yeah.
for the long term.
Yeah, I totally agree. This season's performances have pretty much shown to me that give Miller time at Ducati, and he is the man. Because on a year older bike, obviously they're in the same team, both at Pramac, but Petrucci has a full up-to-date spec bike, Miller 1 year. Miller's not been too far off Petrucci in general, and sometimes has beaten him as well. So I think, yeah, as you say, I totally agree. 2019, it makes sense, but 2020, Miller's going to be at least knocking on the door. And next year, he, not confirmed, but he will be staying at Ducati, Pramac Ducati, we'd imagine, on the most up-to-date bike, but obviously not with quite as much factory support. So watch out for that one in 2020. Some other news, obviously, then, and it all fits together. It's all interdependent of each other. At Suzuki, obviously, where Lorenzo was expected to go, that's now almost certain, but not confirmed, to be Joan Mir, which is an interesting move for Suzuki, given that Iannone's hit a little bit of form, and they're getting rid of him for a rookie. A bit risky, I would say.
Yeah, definitely a risk, especially someone who's not won in Moto2 yet. It's kind of the same punt that Pramac did with
Bagnaia.
That's the one. I forgot his name for a second there.
Yeah.
It's a risk. I mean, Suzuki aren't challenging for championships right now anyway. So I mean, they got rid of the wrong rider for right now. They've got rid of the wrong rider, but they want to go long term with Rins and what looks to be Mir. Iannone, I don't think is really a long term prospect for them because I guess he just found his mentality hard to deal with.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So, yeah. It seemed like the same case when they got the flick from Ducati that they got rid of the wrong rider in terms of pace, and it worked out. And it worked out for Ducati. So,
yeah, poor Iannone. He always managed to find form too late. Obviously, won on a Ducati, took his debut Grand Prix win in MotoGP after he got the sack, pretty much, and podiums this year. And again, he's gone. But they've got to look long term, haven't they? As you say. And they're not fighting for championships now, so it's the right time to take the risk. And yeah, we will see. I think that Mir will be fine because he's taken to Moto2 really, really well. So that's obviously the hardest jump is Moto3 to Moto2. If you can do that as well as Mir's done, you would imagine he could do Moto2 to MotoGP well. But we will have to wait and see. Obviously, it's not confirmed. Everyone was sure it was going to be Lorenzo there, so it could get changed, but I very much doubt it. I think that one is a done deal. And obviously then, it gets a little bit complicated with Iannone could be going to either Aprilia, which is the most likely outcome, going to replace Redding, or he could go to this satellite Yamaha team that doesn't exist, that was due to be for Lorenzo, but it could be for two different riders now. So obviously this is a really throwing out hypothetical here, but will this team happen? This kind of Sepang, Petronas, Malaysian thing happen? And who would they have as their riders, do you reckon?
I have absolutely no idea. Yeah, I don't know where to start with them.
Who would you have is probably a better question. If you would
if I could pick someone,
Yeah.
Oh, who would I go?
Who's obviously not already been
Oh,
confirmed.
oh, I would go with Brad Binder,
Oh, crikey.
and I would go with Scotty. I put
Wow.
Scotty on it.
Wow. I
Yeah,
was not expecting either of those two names, yeah.
there's my punt. There we
Yeah.
go.
But I think if it does happen, it's more likely what I've heard, or this is quite vague rumours, would be possibly an One. I think it's more likely he'll go to Aprilia. And Morbidelli, if Mark VDS fall off the grid, which they might not, because they've obviously had a lot of problems. But yeah, two interesting names there that you have chucked out, and yeah, so that we really don't know about that, to be honest. That satellite team, it could be Pedrosa as well, but I think this is the final topic for 2019. I think that this is the end of the road for Danny Pedrosa. The rumours are that he's going to retire at the end of this season, and with no obvious option for him, is it the right idea? Or he's not an old guy, is he?
No,
We see
he's not
Rossi
old.
riding around taking pole position at 39 years old. Pedrosa's only like 31 or 32, isn't he? And he could be retiring. Personally, I think he should stay in sport, even if it's a step down for him. I think it's worth. You're a long time retired, I would say.
I think personally the best thing for him, there's not really a competitive ride in MotoGP on the table for him. Just go World Supers. It's done absolutely no
Yeah.
harm for Johnny Ray.
Mm.
It's worked out for Johnny Ray. It's worked out for even Melandri's had a bit of a resurgence there.
Yeah.
I think that's just the safe option. It's probably the better option for him.
And they'll be falling
Um,
over their heels, won't they? To have him, you'd
Yeah.
imagine.
Oh yeah, it'd be a massive thing for World Supers. I think if Danny goes over there, and Honda need a good rider alongside Camir over there.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, if he stays in the Honda family, I reckon he'll go World Supers. I reckon that'll be a pretty easy deal. I don't think Daniel will want to really leave like that, but looking at what he's got, it's tough to see anything that'd even be close to suitable.
Right.
I don't want to see him leave though.
No,
I love him.
neither do
I love Danny.
To be honest, I'm not. I think the time was right for him to move on from Honda, because he was getting into a rut where it was just getting a bit boring. To be honest, he was doing.
Yeah.
You just knew exactly what he was going to do. He was going to struggle for a few races, have some really good races, but most of the time be in between, kind of top 5, but not really that much. So I think a change
Going
was
off
right
recent
for
form
him.
at Magello as well. That's
Oh yeah, that was
ouch.
disaster.
That was horrible. I think his head probably. Did Honda say when they told him? Was it before the weekend or after?
It hasn't been said.
If
But
they told him
I would
before-
imagine. I'd imagine that they were saying, we're talking to Lorenzo, you're going to be gone
Yeah.
before. But that's just I guess. So. But yeah, I think a change would be good for him. I think it would be a real shame if he retired not trying anything else. Not trying World Superbikes, not trying to go on a Yamaha, because I think a Yamaha would really suit him. I think it would be a real shame if he retired just riding on a Honda at such a young age. I think that'd be a real shame for him. I think he's got a lot to give, but I think they were kind of right to get moving on at Repsol, but I don't think it's right for him to move on from the sport. I really hope he doesn't retire. But
I just think World Supers would be a good idea because the bikes, they're still fast bikes. They'll still keep him on his toes, but they're safer in terms of they've got some aids.
yeah,
They're
'cause
generally easier
yeah.
to ride a little bit. It's less competitive at the front, is it? It's less. It feels a bit further spread out.
well,
so-
behind Ray.
Yeah.
that's a bit of a big gap there.
So I think there's if he's thinking about it from a personal point of view, that's perfect. It's a lot less opportunity to get injured,
Yeah.
and that's always been his curse, hasn't it? That's cost him championships. Is getting injured. So I think if he there's not really any options in MotoGP that I can see. That I don't see him going to that Yamaha team personally. So I just think Red Bull Honda World Supers would it just makes sense in my head if he's not keeping the Repsol ride, which he's not. So yeah.
But he said that there would be more news in Catalonia, so we will see by the next episode. We should have some news. So not much time, so he's obviously got something worked out either way. We will see on that one. But back into the present now, that's all the news about 2019. Oh, apart from Shiren is also confirmed at Tech 3, the KTM. That's not really a surprise,
Did
though.
he mention Miguel?
And, oh yeah, crikey, as well, before the weekend, Miguel Oliveira is also going to that Tech 3 team.
Woo-woo.
So that is now the kind of the junior KTM team, and I think that'll be quite a good lineup. That dynamic, I think, will be interesting.
It'll be interesting to see because neither of them have developed a bike.
Yeah.
Oh, fact, well, yeah, yeah, neither of them developed a bike. So it'll be interesting to see what input they have to KTM. I think, well, Miguel's already in the family, so I think that'll be a fairly easy transition, I reckon.
Yeah, he'll be used to. The main thing about the KTM, isn't it, is they've got I think it's a steel chassis.
Yep, steel trellis frame chassis,
Yeah.
which is on their Moto2 bike.
Yeah, so he'll be used to that at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the simplest thing they could have ever done, is get Miguel on a KTM.
The only shame for that for Oliveira is he's only got this season now to try and win a championship, which is because obviously he just missed out on the Moto3 championship, and now I think it could be another case here where he just misses out on Moto2, which is a bit of a shame. But of course, the main priority is getting into MotoGP. So obviously, last time out, we've missed 3 races. Last time out in Mugello, the one just gone, Lorenzo dominated. He finally got on top of that Ducati, which was really good to see. It's been such a shame seeing him down in the doldrums, but he's back now. Will he be able to continue it? Is the key question.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and next time out in Catalonia, do you reckon he'll be up there fighting with the winner from the previous 2 races, Marquez?
Yep, absolutely. If anything we've known from 10 years of Lorenzo, he's a total head rider.
Yeah.
And now he knows he can win on it. He's going to be like Miguel at the end of last year in Moto2, like Miguel end of 15 on Moto3. Just when he starts winning, he'll not stop. That being said, I don't see Catalonia as much of a Ducati track, but
They won it last year, though. Dovi won it last year.
yeah, it's weird that there's some of the tracks you don't think are Ducati tracks, and they win. It changes year on year, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they can keep on winning. I'd reckon I wouldn't be surprised in any way if he came away with another 2 wins over the season.
And obviously, this one's the last possibility for a few rounds, because then he goes into his really weak tracks where he struggled in the last few years, like Assen and Germany, where he's very, very weak. So he'll be really hoping, I think, to continue that on. I can see him up there, but I think Mugello for Marquez, I think that was a real anomaly in terms of his performance this season. Obviously, he was actually up there. He was in second place, but he was pushing way too hard. It was kind of, to me, it was obvious he was going to crash. I think he was pushing too hard to remain at the front. I think that Honda, at all the other tracks, won't be in that situation where he needs to push way over the limit to stay near the front. So I think that Marquez is probably still the man to beat. But obviously he's got that reduced championship lead now, so it does bring the other people slightly into contention. Do you reckon they can give him a little bit of a championship challenge?
Nah. Nah.
Neither do I. Unfortunately, I don't think so. Yamaha aren't there, are they? They're the closest 2 in the championship. Rossi is second and Vinales is third.
Yamaha's so confusing. I can't tell what's going on. They say they found something and they get was it third and wherever Maverick was, irrelevant place. Nearly getting beaten by Bautista.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on.
I think Vinales has completely lost his head, if I'm honest. I think that, even though, I mean, Rossi before the weekend was saying, Yamaha need to get their act together, it's taking too long. But he seems to be able to then go out on the bike and still perform. But I think that Vinales is in this situation where he's just angry. And you can tell it when he's on the track. And he's always getting beaten up towards the start of a race and then just not performing how you'd expect it. So I think
I think
there's a bit of
although
care
I think in Catalonia they'll do a bit better than recent because they had that test there and they found something there apparently. So I think they'll do a little bit better there, but I think they'll be just kind of almost seem like smoke and mirrors. They'll be back to maybe a podium after that, if they're lucky. But I think in the next race they'll look competitive, but that'll seem like that'll be a flash in the pan, based on the test 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was they found. Doesn't seem like a big thing they found. It seemed maybe just a small tweak, but it's so confusing.
Yeah. I really don't know what's going on there, to be honest. But and it's not a complete disaster. They are still. Rossi's got a few podiums this season. Vignale's got one in USA, so they're doing okay. But it just doesn't look like they're going to win. It looks like they can mix it at the top, but they never look like they're threatening for victory. There's always one or two bikes that look comfortably clear of them each week, and I think that's why they're doing all right in the championship, just because other people have been tripping over quite a bit. But I don't see them challenging Dovi. Maybe I mean, Lorenzo's a long way back in the championship, but if he hits that kind of form, he could be right up there, I suppose.
If you were a ballsy betting man, I'd stick a fiver on Lorenzo championship. Just be like, what would the odds be on that? It'd be crazy odds.
Yeah,
that's worth a fiver.
Definitely. I certainly think behind Dovi, Lorenzo would definitely be my pick for someone who could take the title fight to Marquez. But in all honesty, I don't see it happening really. I think he's already had 2 non-point scores, and he's still 23 points ahead. It's quite ominous, to be honest. If we look at his previous performances, winning at tracks like Jerez and Le Mans, where in the last few years he hasn't been particularly strong, I think.
What was his quote from Kota? He was saying, like, if you could beat me at these 3 tracks, then I'll be worried, kind of thing. So if you could beat me at Jerez, Le Mans, and Mugello, or if you can't beat me, then
no, that's right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. He said that the next three rounds, he says, if I can win there, I can win anywhere, is what he said, and he's won at 2 of them. Mugello was a disaster, but he did win at 2 of them. So,
yeah, I would say just pack up your bags. It's not happening this year, boys.
Yeah.
Move on to next year.
But there is still that chance now, at least. So we can keep hoping there is a bit of a championship fight, at least, to keep us on our toes. But that is it. That's the end of this episode. And as I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about the race in Catalonia. And that will be an interesting one to see. Obviously, we'll be looking out to see if Lorenzo can carry on his magnificent form from Mugello, and whether Marquez can come back to the top kind of form he was in previously. And that's going to be an interesting one to talk through, hopefully. And we will see you then in around about 2 weeks. So thank you very much for listening today. If you've got any comments on what we said, pop it down in the comments. And goodbye.
Bye-bye.